All right, welcome back to the State of the Nation. So tonight we want to hear from the young person or the young people's perspective. Now, tonight we track from increase in road accidents to now the famous housing levy, the return of the housing levy, and one particular topic that is really, causing a lot of jitters to some. It caused some sort of excitement and the anxiousness that comes with it. I'm talking about the position of Chief Administrative Secretary. Remember, this particular one is a topic that is still hot, and of course there is some proposed changes to actually make it be anchored in the law that will give the president the authority to appoint now the Chief Administrative Secretaries without a limit to which number he should appoint. And of course, to help me unpack this discussion from my immediate right, Dr. Kweyu Isaac, that is a social scientist and policy maker. Asante sana for making time.
Thank you so much.
And from my farthest right is Edwin Njoroge. This is the ANC youth leader. Asante sana for making time.
Karibu sana.
All right, gentlemen, let me take your account on this particular topic that is, is really disturbing and even painful to talk about. I'm talking about the increase of road accidents. What's your take in the recent development? In just a span of a week, we have witnessed quite a number of road accidents that have claimed lives. I'll begin with you, Isaac.
So, first of all, I must say that I'm sending my very sincere condolences to the families of the comrades fraternity at large. I'm so saddened by what happened just a few hours ago. So first of all, we must agree again that even the World Health Organization has acknowledged that Kenya has been grappling with the menace of accidents on our roads. Mm-hmm. And it has noted very clearly that it is the major cause of deaths and disability among Kenyans. So it's not a new issue. And I think that this is something that ought to have been solved. It is a collective responsibility, both for citizens, for road users, the government, and everything. But I want to emphasize so much on the comrade side. Mm-hmm. I have a number of requests that I want to make, and I don't know if I should call them requests or they should be reducible minimums, because we are talking about comrades. Mm-hmm. And the first thing I think that has to be done as soon as possible, all the university buses or buses carrying comrades, it could be a university or a college or any institution, as long as it's a bus carrying comrades, we are requesting or demanding that it must have siren. Number two, it must have flashing lights, just like the vehicles for politicians. And equally, when comrades are traveling, we are demanding from the government to ensure that at least a vehicle carrying comrades is being escorted by a police vehicle, just like it happens when dignitaries are moving around. Because when you talk about comrades, you're talking about serious people in the society.
Okay.
So siren, an escort, 2 or 3 vehicles, police vehicles escorting a bus carrying comrades, and lastly, we need flashing lights on all vehicles.
All right. Well, in as much as your request is irreducible minimum, it might prove to be a tall order. But anyway, let me get Njoroge's account on this. Well, okay. The upsurge in, the number of road accidents has really increased. So what's your take on this? And this comes at a day when Professor Kithure Kindiki has actually, called for at least, enactment of laws to curb this road menace.
Thank you very much, Evans. First, let me send my message of condolences to the family, friends, and also the institution, KU, for the loss of the young blood. Secondly, when we were young, there was a phrase that used to go, before crossing the road, look left, right, then cross the road. How many people do that? So, as for the pedestrian, we should take account before crossing the road. To those who are driving, what is the procedure? Maybe the government should take an act to know the procedure before licensing someone.
Okay.
Before you are told that you are equitable to go and drive, you should first go through, it's not just an examination, you should go through some stages, practical stages. Secondly, age limit. In Kenya, I think for you to be allowed to drive, it's 18 years and above. Maybe that age should be added to maybe 21 years and above. But we have no limit. What about the limit? You find someone who is 80, 85 years still driving, someone whose eyesight is not clear. The other issue on roads is on Kura, Kenya Roads Authority. Have they marked their roads appropriately? Are there street lights? Have they played their part as a ministry? Those are the questions that we should ask ourselves before we equip these issues so as to settle this problem.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Isaac, who is to be blamed for the increasing number of road accidents in the country? Who is sleeping on the job?
I don't wish to blame anybody. We normally say that an injury to one comrade is an injury to all comrades. And road safety is a collective responsibility. You cannot blame it on a person. You cannot put it on government. But there are things that we, as my friend has highlighted, the road users can do, and there are things that the government can do for us. For instance, they suggest that we need to have two-way roads. Let us have better roads. There's a lot of money in the country that can be used to facilitate construction of better roads. The road that has claimed the lives of our comrades is a road that is used by so many vehicles, both new and old, for so many years. And it's a road that needs to even have 11 or 12 lanes, because it's a road that has been used, I think, since the days in the 1960s or whatever. So it's not a road that is supposed to be causing those obvious accidents. You get it? Because it's very tiny in the first place. So the government should take its responsibility. In the same case, the road users must take their responsibility, because to some percentage, let's say like 60%, it is the road users who cause the accidents.
Okay.
But to some levels also, let the government ensure that we have better roads. And of course for comrades. Even if we'll have one lane on every road for comrades, specifically for comrades, that one is okay.
Well, Njoroge, what do you propose we should, do going forward to actually curb this increased number of road accidents?
Some of the measures, the government should take some measures. Maybe it should cancel all the licenses so that each and everyone who is to go to the road will go under a certain examination. Secondly, another measure that should be taken is that all roads should be well marked. Where there's supposed to be where there are black spots, maybe some bumps should be kept, some lights, so the drivers can clearly see during the night. Then each and every person, maybe each and every driver should make sure that his or her vehicle has been taken for service. Maybe a government should put a plan, maybe for a certain period, maybe after every 6 months, every vehicle that is on our roads should be taken for service. The other issue is the mileage. Maybe when I speak of mileage, I mean that the vehicles that we have in our country, they should have a limit, maybe 50,000 kilometers. After that, the car should be sold. The vehicle should be, maybe it is banned from the roads.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's switch gears to, the latest development. I'm talking about the Affordable Housing Bill now signed into law officially, that will pave way for the government now to deduct the 1.5% housing levy. So this is something that, at the very beginning, remember, this was something that was suspended for a while, citing that it was unconstitutional and it was discriminative in nature. That is according to the rulement that was issued by High Court that rendered the whole process unconstitutional. Now the government had to go back, to the drawing board and draft some measures, today, here we are. We have now the return of the levy. So I want to borrow your reaction, on quick one on this, Njoroge. What do you think of now the housing levy now being into a law? And of course, it gives government now a go-ahead to actually deduct this 1.5% from employers and employees. So what is your immediate reaction? And has it anchored the issues that were actually addressed in the ruling by the High Court?
Kenya being one of the best countries in Africa, the project is recommendable. But it's good for us as Kenyans to ask ourselves, is it time? For me, the housing levy, this is not the best time to initiate this project, because Kenyans are going at a very harsh living economy. And for the government, if it was a must for this project to take place, there are very many measures. Maybe it would have invited investors, maybe private investors or foreign investors, to come and invest, and the project will still have happened. But once the government says that we are going to start this project and finance the project, and the government itself has no money, that means the pinch will go to the normal Kenyan. Secondly, the main purpose of this because it was a manifesto during the campaign time for His Excellency the President, the main purpose was to create employment and maybe to reduce and ban the slums. Once, maybe if these investors are invited to come and invest in this nation, still our labor force will be employed. The issue of unemployment will still be handled. If these investors still comes and invests in those projects in Kenya, still the problem of reducing the slums will still take part, and it will be possible. So as for me, this is not the best time.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you talk about investors, are you referring to investors now coming to the country to build these houses?
Yes, of course.
But well, this 1.5% deduction, I believe, is meant to actually build these houses. This is what the government is doing. So in that regard, the same purpose of creating, the jobs that the president really talk about, it will create a lot of employment to the young people, and of course, in between, so many professions will be catered for in terms of job creation. So for me, I think, don't you think this is an issue that maybe it will address?
The 1.5% is deducted because we as Kenyans are sponsoring ourselves. This project is being sponsored by the government. But if it is a foreign investment, no deductions would be made to Kenyans.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as a Kenya, you're against the deduction?
I'm against the deduction.
All right, let me get Isaac's thought on this pretty quick. Well, Isaac, one of the reasons why High Court suspended this is because of the discriminative nature of this housing levy. Do you think now that particular aspect has been, thought after and actually corrected the way it's supposed to be? Or do you think it was a rush, some sort of a process?
First of all, we must acknowledge that the president signed that bill into law against the court order, right? So that means the aspects in the whole bill were not really clear or good, or they were draconian, so to say, to the Kenyan mwananchi. That's why the court said, no, we need to talk out some issues before it's passed. But the president said that because he has the sword, he decided to sign that into law, and whoever goes against it, he will face the sword. But again, you see that the issue of let's look at it as is it a necessity in the first place to Kenyans? Is it a need in the moment? It is not. Kenyans are we are still actually in the bigger chessboard of political movements where people are still forming coalitions. Right now we are having NADCO coming up, where we think the opposition will be joining the government. We have the issue of security, the banditry, even the Al-Shabaab. We have the issue of fatality on the roads. We have the issue of corruption. We have so many issues in the country that need to be aired. Housing is none of them. So I think the politicians are creating, are just coming up with the problems, and then creating solutions. Problems that do not affect any Kenyan, they are forming the problems and coming up with painful solutions. When I say painful solutions, it means the solutions that are includes robbing from Kenyans against their will.
Okay.
So housing is not a necessity at the moment.
Okay.
We have better things to deal with.
All right, we want to take a very short break and hold on to that thought. And of course, we are taking just a short break. When we come back, remember the discussion still continues, and this is the state of the nation. Welcome back. The discussion still continues. We're talking about the state of the nation, where we track matters, politics, economy, and everything in between. Remember, you can be part and parcel of this discussion. You can talk to us on all of our social media platforms. We are live on YouTube at KUTV News Kenya, or rather live. You can tweet me at Auma Evans. Remember to use the hashtag State of the Nation. So we'd like to hear your thoughts and comment, especially at a time when we are talking about matters, state of the nation, from the lens of young people. And of course, just to reintroduce my guest pretty quick, we have Dr. Kweyu Isaac, that is social scientist and policy maker, and of course Edwin Njoroge, ANC youth leader. Well, gentlemen, before we went on break, we were tracking matters, housing levy, and of course among these there is still some issues that still pend. Among, like, for example, one of the bone of contention about the reintroduced housing levy is the criteria of collecting 1.5% deduction we have from salaried Kenyans and unsalaried Kenyans. Now the real question is about the unsalaried Kenyans. What are some of the mechanisms to actually collect, and which criteria do you use to actually determine that this is the amount of money that you will deduct from your gross income as unsalaried Kenyans?
To deduct from the unsalaried citizens, once maybe the government will check on your bank transactions, your phone transactions, M-Pesa maybe that will lead them to the amount that they will deduct from you. Secondly, on this issue of the deduction of 1.5, today is when this thing has been put to bill. But the amount was started being cut from July last year, since when the financial bill was passed. So the question is, what about the amount that has been cut for the last months? Will it be refunded back to Kenyans, those who are deducted that amount, or will it be carried forward? What is the accountability of the amount that was cut in the last months?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. When you talk about the accountability part, now the bill has tried to address.
Yeah.
We have a board that will actually manage these funds. So that is an area that has been looked into. Yeah. But one area that still lack clarity is the amount of deduction that unsalaried Kenyans will actually be deducted. And of course, Isaac, this is something that maybe, do you think the bill has addressed it, or it's still hanging somewhere?
The bill is not clear on how the naked man will be pickpocketed. The bill talks about 1.5% of salary. So for a young person like me who is only earning money from Taptengele, there are no traces of me working anywhere. How do you tax me? It is not addressing. Sometimes I'm even making more money than some government officers. But there is nowhere that the government can trace me because they don't have my tax information. I have not indicated them on the platforms that I make money from. So the bill is not clear on the majority of Kenyans who are not earning salary every month. So that again makes it so draconian to the people who are earning salary, because somebody feels, how do you feel? It feels like having a job in Kenya is now a crime against the government. That is how they feel. It's like if you needed to have a job, you must make sure that the government doesn't even know about it. even in the recent cases of a young man who was mentioning Remotask, just a few, close to a month later, the company shut down its operation in the country. Right now, there is no young man who can work online on Remotask and earn anything, because there was no criteria again of how somebody will come up and say they're earning 40,000 and the government did not even know about it. Probably they were planning something. And so there's no criteria at all on how people don't have jobs will contribute to the housing law. And again, the other laws that the president is passing, and even you wonder, for instance, like the tax on avocado. Somebody in the village in Muranga there only has maybe 2 trees or 1 tree, avocado tree, and you are telling them that you will tax them for having those trees. They'll choose not to sell those avocados, or they'll choose to convert that into firewood. There's another tax about the chicken tax, where you have to pay tax for every chicken and every livestock you are rearing. If I have 5 chicken in the village, I'll rather slaughter them for my visitors and stop the chicken rearing activity, other than pay money to the government that does not know where I got my chicken, how I feed it. They don't give anything in return for the money I pay them.
Okay. Yeah. Now, gentlemen, let's switch gears now to another very interesting conversation. We're talking about, the return of the Chief Administrative Secretary. I remember there is a bill right now in Parliament that should it see the light of the day, then it will give President, powers to actually appoint CAS without any limit whatsoever. It will be whoever he wish. The number could be 100, 5, maybe 20, depending on the interest of the president. Well, this particular position was quashed by High Court again because it was illegal. It was termed as illegal. It lacked public participation. Among the reasons that High Court actually, suspended this particular one. So they've gone back to the drawing board again. Now they have reintroduced some changes and they want to actually, amend it into the law. So should the bill see the light of the day, it will become a law and president will have the powers to actually appoint this CAS position. So is this even a discussion that we should be having at this particular time, Isaac?
I don't think it's a discussion we should be having. But again, remember I told you that in Kenya we are always campaigning for the next election. So at the moment, what we had in the NADCO report is there was nothing constructive about the normal Kenyan mwananchi. Of course, it was a debate among the big boys on who should join the government, who should not, who should take what position, who should replace who. So for the president to make sure that everybody feels included in the government, including the opposition, as it were in the previous government, there must be something that has to be done to the law. Remember, the CAS positions were squashed, and therefore, when the opposition joins the government, again, they have to support the government through something. It could be a law, it could be a presidential act, it could be anything, to make sure that when they are making a political move, nobody questions them. But it's not a debate that we should be having at the moment. We have enough problems to deal with as a country. Even though there are things we could be celebrating at the moment, like the recent muscles by the Kenyan shillings against the dollar. But there are better things, there are serious things that we should be discussing, not positions for the members of the opposition government in the government.
All right. Well, Njoroge, when you look at the previous regime, the number of CAS were about 22. Yeah. Well, this particular regime, they had surpassed that particular number by almost over double, to be precise, 50 CAS. Then the High Court actually termed it as illegal. Now, the move to remove now the limit to which president can appoint CAS, do you read mischief in this? Is it some sort of, rewarding political loyalist friends, something like that? What do you read in all this?
Okay, this is the first term for the President William Ruto. And so he had allies and people who supported him during the last general elections. So he has to find a way to reward them, because he will be needing these same people in the next general election and also in future. So he tried to reward 50 of them, but the court denied.
Is it about the next general election?
Yeah, of course it is. It is. But the court denied him that space to reward his people. So he has been working hard behind the curtains to make sure that these people who are pressuring him, they still get somewhere in this, to get some positions in this government. Secondly, we are headed to, Kenya. There's only, after elections, we go to campaigning for the next elections. After elections, campaigning to the other election. So it would be scary, or I would not be astonished when we find that the next list of the CASs, there are some of the people, some names which were in the last list that won't be in this one, because now they will be looking at regional politics. So this is a political issue. This is not even, it's not a matter of development or anything to do with mwananchi wa kawaida. It's about the rich kids, the big boys. It's about promotion of his supporters in the next elections.
Isaac, Njoroge talks about securing, the future in terms of election. Do you think maybe this is a political arrangement rather in regard to, the next general election?
First of all, I must acknowledge I'm very disappointed in him, because he's a youth leader for the party. I think he's the party that is led by the current chief cabinet minister or the prime minister, to say. What he says that these people, the president is struggling to ensure that the big boys are in government. What exactly are you telling the general public and the young people there who are looking up to you? What you are telling them is that now that the opposition is now joining the government, like it was in the BBI times, the young people who campaigned, you said it's a game of the big boys, and William Ruto, the president, is looking for spaces for the big boys, for the who's and who's. So what you are telling the young people is that there are no positions for them in government, there are no slots, and you see that one adds a bigger budget to the normal mwananchi again. If for instance that very funny law passes, the funny bill passes, and the president decides to appoint 150 cabinet secretaries and appoints 150 CAS and appoints 150 PS, what does that mean to the country's budget? It means that the Kenyan mwananchi is going to suffer more to facilitate the life of even one cabinet secretary. But for him, because he's a party leader of the ruling party, he says it's okay, it's political. That does not affect the Kenyan mwananchi. That is a game of the big boys. It's a bit disappointing.
I didn't say it doesn't. Okay, don't say what I didn't say. I didn't say it doesn't affect the mwananchi wa kawaida.
Do you feel disappointed?
Yeah.
Do you feel disappointed?
I don't, because that's the truth. And there's always a pinch in the truth. The truth is that this is a plan for the next election. Because
is this supposed to be about the next election?
Of course it is. Because if it's for the gain of Mama Mboga or Boda Boda people, in the last list, did you see any Mama Mboga or any normal mwananchi wa kawaida? No, the people who are in that list are maybe former senators, former governors, maybe secretary generals, people who already have names, and people who played a very big role in making sure that this government is in position. So when my friend here says that he's disappointed in me by speaking the truth, I think he should first be disappointed in himself for not accepting the truth.
But as a common citizen, the one that you wake up very early in the morning to contribute to the economy of the country, well, do you feel overburdened? Because this is another burden to already overstretched donkey, if I may use the phrase like that, because addition to for example, let's take 50 CAS.
Yeah.
Well, when you look at the new proposed law, it means that the CAS will be ranked higher than the members of parliament. That's how it is. Then it will come like they will have security, personal aid. We have vehicles, house allowance, all this. This is a burden to common mwananchi. Well, the virtue that you don't feel disappointed, what does it say about our society, we as Kenyans?
To Kenyans, it's a burden that is added to the problems that we already have as Kenyans, because these positions will come with mortgages, salaries, vehicles, and other expenditures. So this burden will all be taken back to mwananchi wa kawaida. We as Kenyans, I don't think there's any Kenyan who is in agreement with this proposal. I don't think. This is a proposal of the president and his people, those who are already in positions. But for the mwananchi wa kawaida, the true voter, they are against this. And that's why Kenyans were very proud of the judiciary once it declared those positions unconstitutional, because it was adding another task to the tasks that we have as a nation. There are problems that should be first handled, because this is not a need. It's not a must for it to be there. This cabinet secretary, these CASs must not be there, because when you look at what is the functions of these CAS officers, these are duties that can maybe be filed to the office of the PSA, so that they can be reporting to the cabinet secretaries.
All right.
So these positions.
All right.
Yeah.
Because we are running out of time, and actually we are out of time, to be precise. So I'll give you just 1 minute for your closing remark, and of course you can contribute or weigh into Njoroge's views in regard to these CAS positions, and what you think. Is it a priority? Should we abandon it, or what?
First of all, I'll wish to define maybe the Kenyan political scene as a game of hide and seek, where those who are hiding are not hiding themselves, they are hiding stacks of money, and those who are seeking them, they are seeking them with audit reports and a lot of frustrations. And to some points, even when the seekers find those who are hiding, they find them with money too little to even justify that indeed the bigger monies were stolen.
Okay.
And about the issues of the roads, I want to urge the road users to first of all buckle up and pray. Where we are headed is like now a spiritual matter. Pray not just for yourself, fellow passengers, for driver, and even for the vehicle itself.
Okay.
Then lastly, let me just read a comment sent to me by a friend of mine, Wakili Mutoro.
Okay.
He says that the political innuendos for instance, in the South Rift, is a sign of lack of development, and the people are reacting to the lack of wheat as they are doing at the national government.
Okay.
For instance, in Bungoma, Wetangula is losing the scene.
Okay.
And there's a new guy coming up called Natembea.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your insight and thoughtful contribution to this state of the nation. Edwin Njoroge, ANC youth leader, asante sana for making time.
Thank you.
And Dr. Kweyu Isaac, social scientist and policy maker, asante sana for making time.